Hi, folks. This is Don Meissner with the North Country Fishing Report. I pretty much called it a day. I'd ended the year fishing the tributaries, especially the Grass River, because when it gets this time of the year, I don't tend to find the fish. They literally disappear on me. But I thought, okay, we've had such a warming trend, such a long period of time with no rain. The river's still quite low. I can wade it effectively. Maybe I still have a chance of catching a couple more nice bass before the season goes away. So yesterday, I go to my favorite spot. I know, never seen anybody else fishing there in a long time, so I figure it hasn't been pressured. And I start wading down. And the first pool that traditionally in the early fall it had fish, I decided to try. And I'm using a little bitty 2.5 inch. It's called a Berkeley Little Trooper. And it has this stuff they call max scent in it. It's really supposed to give off a great odor to the fish that makes them come for it, wanting to eat it. So I throw out in this pool, and lo and behold, I feel a tick. And I set the hook, and this beautiful bass comes just flying out of the water. And I'm like, okay, I've hooked what I've been wanting, what I've been dreaming about. Bring the bass in. And in the Grass River, this is a really good-sized fish. It was about 16 inches long, at least 2 pounds. And I'm like, oh my gosh, maybe they're still here. So I let the fish go, and I cast out again, and again, and again, and no strikes. And I'm thinking, this pool that it's in, and when I say pool, it was a little bit difference in the current. The current had been sweeping down, but there was kind of like a back area, no bigger than a good-sized living room. And I thought, there's got to be another bass in there. Maybe I'm doing this wrong. So I changed my tactic, and I throw it upstream. And I had a little 1/32 ounce tube-headed jig on there. But I thought it would apply because I wanted it as light as possible so I wouldn't snag. So I cast it upstream, and it starts to drift down. And I think, oh, gosh, I've snagged. And then I see the rod tip dimple a bit, and I'm like, no, that's a fish taking it. I set the hook, and I'm into another beautiful bass, and it flies out of the water again, and the lure comes out. So I thought, okay, there might be another one in here. And I try again and again. Now, what I'm telling you is that the way I normally would catch them, they're not hitting that lure. I had to change the approach. And so I was just about to leave, and I thought, right in front of me, I can see that the water drops off. It drops off at least a foot deeper. So I throw it maybe 5 feet out in front of me. Seriously, that close, and I see the line twitch. And I set the hook again, and another big, heavy bass. And lo and behold, I lose it again, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm using too little a hook. That hook is just so tiny, it's not getting in. Because a 1/32 ounce jig head is got a hook no bigger than what you'd use for stream trout. So I put a bigger lure on, or basically a more heavy of the same lure on, and I don't get another strike. So I go way downstream. I don't get any more strikes. I finally get to another area. And the same thing, by this time the wind is really blowing and I'm having a hard time controlling what my lure is doing. But the same thing happens. I go to the last place I'd been a week ago and I'd found fish. The muskies were gone. I wasn't getting anything. And I decide maybe I need to cast up into the pool. The fish don't want to hit anything moving. So I'll try it the other way. And lo and behold, I catch another fish, and it's another big bass. Okay, the end of my story is, after 3 hours, I hooked 8 fish, and I caught 4. Every one of those fish were big, chunky bass. When I say big, 14 to 16 inches long. There wasn't one little fish. Same body of water, the same area that in the summertime I would catch 100 bass in a day, and I'm not exaggerating. Now, 90 of those bass were probably only 8 or 9 inches long. They're all gone. I don't know where they are. But what I really wanted to cover and tell you today is that the way you use whatever the lure is that you think is so great and it's been great in the past and doesn't work. If you change how it moves or doesn't move, it can make all the difference in the world. Now that the water's getting colder, those fish don't want to move as much. Until next time, folks, this is Don Meissner with the North Country Fishing Report.